Good morning, everybody. What a beautiful day. Look, the sky's blue, the sun is out. It's a little bit chilly, it's beginning of December. I've got my hat on, got my gloves and high-vis jacket, of course. I'm going to take our SR22TG7 over to Gloucester for a little bit of maintenance. It's got to do its 100-hour check, got to have an oxygen top-up as well. So just a very short, about 15-minute flight, but I'd like you to come along, have a look, see what I do, push a few buttons and see my thought process as we go. So let's get to it, get over to Gloucester and get the aircraft in for its 100-hour check. Right, so in the cockpit, got out of the cold. It's very chilly outside today. So I'm just going to power up the avionics, load up my flight plan. It's a very, very short flight plan, just has like one waypoint in it, so it's no drama, but I'll load that in so you can have a look and see how I go using the flight stream system to get the aircraft flight plan into the avionics. And then I'll do some initialization, have a look at a few bits and pieces, and then we'll start the engine and then get going. Here with VFR, we're on a maintenance area actually parked up on the aircraft, so we don't need to call for startup as we would do in most UK or European airports if we were flying IFR. So I'll get the avionics switched on, I'll load up the flight plan and we'll get going. Dark cockpit, so nothing switched on at the moment, so just going to click on both the batteries. First of all, I'm going to switch on battery number 2. Just going to have a look and make sure that the PFD powers up, and so do the two Garmin touchscreens, which they do. And then battery number 1 is going to go on, so that's switching on as well. I can now hear the fans and everything else sort of powers up in turn, so just waiting for that all to come alive. There we go, nice. So GTC number 1 comes up initially with a initialization page, so we're just going to check through the initialization page, make sure that everything's okay. So first of all, we're going to have a look at databases. Our databases are all in date, which is nice. There's no yellows, but everything is up and running and ready all the way through until the 26th of December for the navigation data. So that's good, and it's beginning December now. So go through next, and then here we go through and we can have a look at all of our limitations. So we've got our aircraft limitations, what category of aircraft and everything it is. Then a passenger briefing. This is very, very good for utilising to give our passengers a brief as you go through and making sure that we're okay. So the I'm safe new mnemonic going on there, so that's good. And then as we go through that, then that's everything. We just come down through here, we'll just make sure we've ticked through everything, just click on next. And then here we're just going to make sure that we've got the fuel on board is synchronized. So there in the fuel gauges it says 78 gallons. Here it says 77. I'm just going to go fuel on board sync. That would just change that to 78, which is nice. Then click on next, and then make sure we got our weight and balance all loaded up. So over here on the aircraft loading, just click into there. I can switch myself over to my weight, which is 185 pounds. Don't tell anybody. And then there's nobody in the co-pilot seat. Passenger left and right, and middle as well. Got a little bit of weight in the baggage bay, but apart from that, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's nice. And then we can have a look at also the physical weight and balance over here, so we can see our C of G graph, or we can go into a summary and actually see what we have in the weight of the aircraft there. And also we can have a look on the loading summary and see what we have in there as well. So you can see that there's me, nobody else on board, got some de-icing fluid, not a massive amount, and the passengers and the baggage. So all that's looking nice. So we can click through next on there. The next thing is my flight plan. So with my flight plan, I've got the airport origin of Oxford. So over here, it's just asking me already to confirm that it wants to send it straight to the system. I'm just going to go cancel and just show you over here that what I can do is actually go into flight plan. I've got the little symbol over here on my ForeFlight, which I can tap on the little symbol of the aeroplane in the brackets. Here it says center panel, so I'm going to click center panel, and when I do that, you'll see that a message comes up on the screen. Connect starts flashing. I can tap into Connect. It'll go into Connect here. There's the flight plan at the top. I can tap on there. I can have a look on here, make sure I can scroll through it to make sure that everything looks good. So it does go into Oxford via waypoint called Nanham, which just takes me out further to the northwest and then over to Gloucester. And if I'm happy with that, I've got an activate button, and I can just tap on that, and that activates, turns it purple, and that's my flight plan in the system. Back into initialization, I just make sure here that I've got all of my green ticks ticked, but I'm missing one here, which is takeoff data. So I tap on takeoff data. So here, I'm expecting to use runway 19. I haven't listened to the ATIS yet, but I've been seeing the aircraft taking off. So I'll tap on there. Gives me really nice information about the runway length here as well. So there's runway 19. Over here, I've got a little star. So I tap on there. It says, what is my runway required? So up on the system here now, I've loaded my weight and balance, and it knows all the temperatures and everything. It's saying that I need 1,330 feet to get to a 50-foot obstacle. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to type that into there. So tap on here, 1,330 feet, and then go enter, and that's loaded it in the system. There are other tabs on here for changing configurations, but I'm just going to leave that as it is. Go through to initialization. Everything's good. Make sure my crew profile is in. We have a few people flying the aircraft, so I just want to make sure that I'm set up for my crew profile, and then I can go accept initialization, and that's great. So we can have a quick look up on here. We got our engine gauges on the left hand side of the MFD, and then I've got the screen set up at the moment into two MFWs, so multi-function windows. The left-hand one is, or the center one it looks like, but the left-hand one here is actually my map at the moment. I'm a north-up sort of guy, so that's how I like to fly. And over here, I see my status page, and the nice thing here is it's telling me that my parking brake is set, as it is saying over here as well on the PFD. And then I can have a look and see whether or not I've got any windows closed, or doors or baggage bays are open as well. So that's quite nice. And over here, I can see that my aircraft is parked on the maintenance area. Here I have my taxiway where I'm going to go out to this holding point over here. But this is the 3D taxi. Looks absolutely fantastic. So that's my 3D taxi, which I'm going to help myself when I'm at a more unfamiliar airport to get myself from one point to another. So that's great. Let's get on and get the aircraft started. Right, so engine's running, as you can see. And I thought I'd just run through that process and get that thing up and running, because I just wanted the engine to warm up a little bit. So here I am in the cockpit. I'm just running through the last bits of my checklist before taxiing. And what I do is I actually go through all of my taxi checks and pre-takeoff checks, or before takeoff checks, before I actually start taxiing, up until the point where I need to do my power checks when I go to the run-up point. So over here we've got this little beautiful little checklist scroll wheel, which is fantastic. So my flaps are currently in the up position, I can see that, and also outside the window I can see that as well, that the flaps are in the up position. And comms, I'm just going to make sure they're set up. So I've got my tower frequency here at the moment. 125090 is going to be my next frequency for my radar as I depart. And also what I want to do actually is I want to load up into the standby the 80s frequency for Gloucester. I've already listened to the 80s frequency here, but in the standby, and here's a really quick way of doing that. So I just tap into the standby, make sure it's blue, go into find, go to destination. Here's destination 80s, and as soon as I push the 127480, that'll go straight into wherever I have the blue highlighted on my comms. So a really nice simple way of doing that. And then once I've done that, I just go back into the comm number 1, which is what I'm using at the moment, because I'm on the tower frequency, because the ground frequency is closed here today. So really, really nice. That's my comms are set up. 80s I already haven't got my clearance yet. The altimeter is 1011, so 1011 is set up there, utilising the barrow knob if I needed to set that, just by twisting that left and right, and the 1011 is set, and the airport here is about 230 feet, so that's good. And next on the list is altimeter, so transponder at the moment is set on 7,000. I'll change that as and when I need to. Heading, so I know there's going to be runway 19 for departure, so my heading bug I can twist with the heading knob on here, so I can switch that around to 190, so there we go, bug and heading there, reading 190, and initial altitude. I don't know the way it's got altitude written down here, I'd rather it had it there, because I find that a lot of people miss that it says initial altitude, but that's going to be set and I'm going to put that in the bug here, utilising the altitude knob. And what I'm going to do is, I know here that normally they ask me to go to 2,000 feet or not above 2,000 feet, so I'm going to go 1,900, and then I'll get a little bit of further clearance after that. So that's good. So flight controls, I'm just going to make sure in a nice boxed area, or boxed motion, that my flight controls are all full and free, and I'm looking out the window, making sure that they are all moving at the same time as well, which they are, so that is perfect. And click that. So every time I push the button here for the little scroll wheel, that will just tick down on there. So cabin heater, so it was a little bit chilly, so I've got the fan on a little bit, I've got the heater up here, and at the moment it's on defrost, but in fact I'm going to start to put it into all directions now, so up into my face and down onto my feet as well. Fuel selector, I'm going to switch tanks. So over here I've got my fuel cover, which means that the fuel tanks are actually switching over manually. As soon as I lift up this cover, you'll see here that on the fuel it actually goes into manual mode, and then what I can do down here is I can actually switch over from right to left, and that will show me up on here that it's gone into manual left. Okay, and left is actually my fullest tank, I can see down there, so I'm going to leave that in that case, and I'm going to close the flap. And then when I close the flap, the manual goes away and the system stays in automatic. So autopilot I'm going to test. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to go autopilot on by pushing the AP on button. And when I do that, I'm just going to check that I get roll mode, yaw damper is on, and pitch with V-path and vertical altitude selected is on there as well. And all I need to do is just push the disconnect button, make sure it disconnects, and what I do is I actually push the other button as well and make sure that it cancels out the noise, so I'm testing both red buttons at the same time. So autopilot is done, there's the autopilot disconnect. Trims I'm going to make sure is set, so here I can see my little indicator, and I'm just going to make sure that I am set in takeoff and takeoff. There we go, and I'm just going to check out on the wings as well to make sure that the ailerons are pretty flat as well, which they are in relation to the wing. Parking brake will be released, and then brake check as I taxi away. And then what I tend to do here is I just go down and do this as well, so I make sure that my doors are latched, which they are. The centre console panel, which is all this panel here, that's all set up in the appropriate way that I would like it to be set up. Air conditioner and recirculate, so the recirculate is this little knob just down here, so make sure that that's not on, so it's off at the moment, which is good. And then fuel quantity I have confirmed. Fuel is on the fullest tank, and also the cover is covered, so it's in automatic. And I get down as far as here, and then I leave the boost pump in the on position, and then mixture will go fully rich, flaps will go to the 50%, and I do all of that when I actually get to the holding point. So I do a lot of things before I start to taxi, because otherwise you find that you're doing too many things at the hold before you depart.
0 degrees at 9, clear for takeoff. Clear for takeoff, go.
So I'm taxiing at the moment to hold east of Charlie 3 via Mike, Bravo and Charlie. And the difficulty here with the 3D taxi is that not all the waypoints are actually, or holding points are actually in the system. So, in fact, I very rarely use it. I just, do the way that I've always done. I look on the map, I see where I'm going to go. But it's very, very useful here that I can see, that I am on the Bravo taxiway. Here's the Bravo taxiway here, and I can see the boards that are telling me where I'm supposed to be. And east of Charlie 3 is literally the other side of this holding point here, where they like you to do your power checks before they either taxi you to Charlie 1.
For whiskey set squawk 4520.
Squawk 4520, November 224 whiskey. And so therefore a lot of the waypoints are not actually on here, so therefore holding points are not on here, so therefore I actually don't use it that often. But anyway, I'm going to swing myself into holding east of Charlie 3, and then I'll be in a good position to do the final part of my before takeoff checks, and then carry on to set the aircraft up for departure. So just going to taxi ourselves into here, and then swing ourselves around. And what we do here at Oxford is we just tuck ourselves across on the right hand side of the taxiway, just to the east of the holding point here, which I am, give myself plenty of room or everybody else plenty of room to taxi past me, to line up behind me to do their power checks as well. So that's where I am, and he just asked me to squawk 4520, so very simply over here where it says 7000, just going to tap on there, brings up the keyboard, 4520, confirmed, enter. That's in the system, and they're currently in white because it's in ground mode. So I'm going to do the rest of the power checks and then come back to you before we depart. So I've done my power checks, and I've now got my checklist on full power climb, which is the method we normally utilise to climb. Two things that are not actually on the checklist. One is how to set up your MFD, and the best thing to do on here is to go into MFW, go to full screen, and set it up so that we have the full screen map on there. And generally around about here we're looking for 5 to 10 nautical miles normally on our range. I can adjust the range here, 5 miles if I want to go a little bit closer in, or 10 miles a little bit further out. So I'll go into 5 miles, actually that would be quite nice. And the other thing it doesn't actually say on the checklist is actually to set up our toga button and give ourselves some sort of flight director information. So underneath the throttle is a little toga button, so I can push the toga button, and then that gives me takeoff, and after departure I'm going to fly a runway heading. So I'm going to select heading on the autopilot or flight director control panel. That will give me a takeoff is armed, heading will become active at 400 feet. It will go 7 degrees pitch up, and altitude select is going to take me to 1900 feet. So that's what it will do. So I'll give them a call, we'll taxi up to the hold, and then get ourselves going. November 224 Whiskey is ready for departure.
Golf Delta Kilo, give way to an SR22, it'll be coming out of Charlie 3. November 224 Whiskey, taxi holding point Bravo 1, runway 19.
Bravo 1 for 19, November 224 Whiskey.
Golf Delta Kilo, give way to an SR22 coming out of Charlie 3.
Give way to the SR22 coming out of Charlie 3, Golf Delta Kilo.
Yeah, so still in the 3D taxi as I taxi down.
November 224 Whiskey, what type of service after departure?
Traffic service please, November 224 Whiskey.
November 224 Whiskey, Roger, squawk 4515, and after departure not above 2,000 feet until advised by radar.
4515 on the squawk and not above 2,000 feet until advised, November 224 Whiskey.
November 224 Whiskey, correct.
So taxiing along here, I'm on the Bravo taxiway, taxiing up to the hold Bravo 1, which is just up and around the corner there. So he's given me not above 2,000 feet as anticipated, and my toga is selected. And again, so the first TO on the left hand side here is all to do with my wings level. The second one on the right hand side is to do with my pitch up, so 7 degrees pitch up, and then heading will take over and altitude select will become active as soon as I get to 1900 feet. That's good. So I'm just going to roll up to the hold here. Got the red stop bar lights on, so I'm just going to stop here. He's at 1000 RPM. 4515 he said was my squawk. So there we go, 4515, so that's on the squawk and checked on there. Then 1900 feet is all good. So I'm all set to go. Just as a bit of a sanity check, I'm going to go strobes and probes that I'm going to go on.
Whiskey behind the landing Cherokee on final via Bravo 1. Line up and wait, runway 19 behind.
Behind the landing Cherokee on 19 at Bravo 1, line up and wait behind, November 224 Whiskey. So here comes the Cherokee. Waiting for the stop bar lights also to go out. That's a very big thing that gets missed a lot of the times with pilots who are told to line up. They don't wait for the stop bar lights to go out until they can actually cross. So you get stop bar lights have gone out, so I can line up and have a look. Good look left and right. Nothing coming in, nothing going the other way. Stop bar lights were out and crossing over. So now I go strobes. We don't tend to taxi around with strobes on in the United Kingdom. Probes are now going on as well, because I'm expecting to depart, and it's quite cold. It's 8 degrees as well, even though it's a clear day. I tend to put them on anyway, and then we're going to line up on the runway and get ourselves going. So for this, I will line up on the runway. I can see my 3D taxi now switches into my flight mode. I can see the arrows are pointing in the right direction, telling me that I'm going in the right direction and the right runway. And then I shall get back to you when I'm back in the air.
November 224 Whiskey, the Cherokee upwind will be turning left into the circuit. Runway 19, wind 250 degrees, 9 knots, clear for takeoff.
Runway 19, clear for takeoff, copy the traffic, November 224 Whiskey. Okay, I'll speak to you in the air. So in the air, just climbing out now. Autopilot is on. I'm in heading mode. With the autopilot on, yaw damper.
And looking for a basic service.
Pitch altitude is at 7 degrees, with the altitude selected for 1900 feet. And I'm currently climbing away just below full power. Nice view of Blenheim Palace down there.
4520.
As we climb away.
November 224 Whiskey, contact Oxford radar 125.090, bye-bye.
125090, November 224 Whiskey, bye-bye. Okay, so we're just levelling off now at 1900 feet. I'm going to back off the throttle. Don't need to go crazy. I'm just going to come back to about 25 inches of manifold pressure here, so not to go too mad. And then I'm going to pull the mixture lever back so that I put the fuel flow indicator at the blue line or just below, and just making sure my cylinder head temperatures and my turbo temperatures are looking good, and they're just below 1600, which is perfect, especially at a lower power setting. So let's give them a call. Oxford radar, hello, November 224 Whiskey, 1,900 feet, just heading 310 degrees.
Number 224 Whiskey, Oxford radar, identified traffic service, no level restriction. What level are you going to climb to?
Traffic service, no level restriction, I'll climb 3,500, November 224 Whiskey.
Number 24 Whiskey, roger, and left turn, no navigation when you're ready.
Left turn, no navigation, when ready, November 224 Whiskey. Okay, so I've got 3,500 set up on there, so nice and simply I'm going to go flight level change, roll the roller here, until up on the scoreboard it says 120 knots. Put the climb, and then I'm going to reapply the mixture rich, and I'm going to reapply the power. And on this occasion, I'm not going very far, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to put 30.5 inches of manifold pressure on, 30 to 30.5, and then the aircraft will quite happily now climb. So it's pitching up, getting myself towards 120 knots, and climbing at a nice rate of climb, 1,750 feet a minute. Look at the day out here, look, it's amazing. Who says winter flying is rubbish weather all the time? Look at this, it's absolutely stunning. Enstone Airport just down there. I can see the Golf Tango November. And I'm just routing up to the northwest at the moment. That'll get me past these Brize Norton Airfield and Little Rislington here. Little Rislington sometimes do parachuting. So I'm just going to route myself further to the north, and then when I get further to the north, then I'll cut myself across over here when I am clear. And in fact, at the moment, I'm in heading mode anyway, so what I can do is on my flight plan, I can scroll down to Gloucester Airport, tap on Gloucester Airport, use a direct to Gloucester, tap on there, and when I activate it, I can then have a look and see whether or not my line actually misses Little Rislington, and at the moment it doesn't, so what I'm going to do...
Whiskey, possible traffic in your 12 o'clock, just faded actually from radar now, but 2 miles away, non-transponding, so probably radar cluster, but just in case.
Roger, thanks for looking, November 224 Whiskey. Yeah, so not quite going to miss Little Rislington at the moment, so we'll just wait until we are away from that, and then we can go en route. And again, I've backed off the throttle here just as I levelled off, and just going to go to about 25 inches of manifold pressure. Again, I'm not really in too much of a hurry, so I'll just pop that to 25 inches. When he started talking to me on the radio, I took off some power, but didn't worry about the fuel flow at that time. So there you go, it's about 25 inches. I'll lean the mixture back again, so I get my fuel flow to the blue line, or slightly below, and I'll put the aircraft into lean and peak, checking my CHTs, and my turbo temperatures around about the 1600 mark. Doesn't matter if it's up at 1620 or whatever, try not to be above 1650, but that's looking really nice. And so we're now level,
Heading, autopilot, altitude is 3,500 feet and we're all set. And my full power climb, I didn't really have much time to do that.
224 Whiskey traffic, 12 o'clock, 4 miles, it's right to left, it's indicating 2,000 feet, might be a helicopter I think.
We're looking November 224. So there it is on the screen, 1,500 feet below us. We're at 3,500, so we can keep a good lookout for that as we fly along. But full power, we did that, flaps were up, airspeed was good, engine is on boost, and that's nice. So just go to the... So I'm in the turn now. I was visual with that traffic that's below us, it's plenty below us, it's like 2,300 below us. I've just done a new direct to Gloucester. That direct to is missing Little Rislington, and I'm routing myself over to Gloucester. So I've selected, I've seen it on the screen, direct Gloucester. Scoreboard is giving me GPS with the autopilot and yaw damper on, altitude of 3,500 feet. And I've now got my descent checklist prepared. I'm going to synchronise my heading bug, so it goes into sync mode, and I'm going to have a listen to the ATIS at Gloucester. There I can see it says RX, so I'm going to tap on there, have a little listen, and then write it down.
Golf Alpha traffic, southwest to you by 4 miles north.
Great, so I've got the information at Gloucester, and it's runway 27, they can say I can do a straight in, so I'm actually going to load an approach for going in there. I'm just going to do the RNAV approach for runway 27 via a waypoint called Nermo. So I'm just going to go procedure, approach, select up on here, we'll look for the RNAV runway 27, which is an LNAV, VNAV, which actually in the UK we call them RMPs. So there you go. Nermo is the waypoint there, so I'm just going to select Nermo. Don't know the minimums at the moment, I'll check that out, but landing runway 27, and I'm going to load and activate it because they said I can go and do it. So there you go, so I've loaded it and activated it, and the aircraft immediately is turning towards Nermo. And what I'm going to do also on here is I'm just going to move my blue before I do, so the blue outline, which is done by here, I'm going to flip that over there, and then on here I'm just going to go charts, and then straight away it'll bring up the charts there for Nermo. And I can see here that I need to be 2,500 feet or not below at Nermo. So what I'm going to do here is I've got this vertical profile on here, so I need to be at 2,000 feet at the final approach fix. So on the altitude select knob, I'm going to dial in 2,000 feet on there. VNAV, I'm going to make sure I push so I get a V path, and then because I'm already inside the vertical navigation profile, I'm going to tap on the 2,000, go VNAV direct. It goes into blue. There I can see I've got my vertical path. Path is here, it's taken over, and the aircraft is going to start descending down. So it's important that what I did is I loaded up the 2,000 feet as my altitude bug. I pushed the V path as well, and so therefore utilising the VNAV and the altitude that's inside my screen, then I'm coming down on my V path. I'm just going to back off the throttle now towards about 30% power as I descend down. So 30% power gives me about 12 inches of manifold pressure. That will start bringing the speed back, and what I can see on here is I've got my inbound indication for my distance to the runway as well. So my can I go checks, so 12855, and I know on here that I've got the Gloucester Tower, so that's going to be 122905. There you go, 905. Confirm that. The approach is loaded and activated. I can see there that it's going to the Bravo Juliet 27 Foxtrot, which is this waypoint here, and I'm currently descending down towards 2,000 feet using the vertical navigation profile, and I can push the approach button to make sure that my glide path comes up. So therefore, at the moment, I'm on a vertical profile using the path with VNAV, which it says up there, and once I get to 2,000 feet, and there I can see my previewed glide path information, and the glide path will take over when I get towards my final approach point, and the glide path is coming down. So the approach is loaded and activated. My minimas I can set now down here. I've got 600 feet, so all I'm going to do here is I'm going to go into PFW. There's the minimas, select on there, 600 feet, go enter on that, and that will display up on here with 600 feet. Aircraft still descending down. all looking nice. And if I did need to do a missed approach for whatever reason, then I can scroll this into the missed approach section and compare it. So continuous climb to 2,800 feet, initially straight ahead to 1,500, so that's what it says, 1,500, and then back to the beacon, the locator at 2,800 feet, and that's what it says there as well. So that's all looking good. So now I can see my CDI is coming down, just adjusting my power just a little bit, just so I don't lose any more speed.
Ready for departure.
I can see my glide path is on its way down. My speed is around about 110 knots, which is looking nice. Normally I'll be about 120 with no flap, but at the moment I'm just waiting for my CDI to come down. I'm going to click into the button here, and so fuel pump is on. Mixture is going to go fully rich, so fully rich. Flaps are as required. Well, now I'm coming down and I can see I'm at half scale deflection. I'm going to select my flaps to 50. So they're on their way down now, and as I get towards the glide path intercept, then I will make sure that I back off the throttle and keep myself towards about 100 knots. Autopilot is currently on, and then the rest of it is just before I land. So normal landing, which I'm happy with, and I'll scroll that down to my after landing checks. There we go, so this now should take over, and glide path will take over as well as I come into place.
A warning from the Met Office, although, well, the instant wind now is 25013. We've got no other information. I mean, the wind was dead calm about half an hour ago. It's picking up from the west.
There we go.
Now,
so glide path takes over from the VNAV as I approach 2,000 feet and the glide path intercept, and now GP has taken over and the aircraft is going down. So what I'm going to do now is back off my throttle to about 30 manifold, sorry, 30%, which is about 12 inches of manifold pressure, depends on what you use. So there and there, and then that should give me around about 100 knots. And I can see here my inbound course. There's my, and I'm at 5 miles, which is where the controller wanted me to tell him.
Runway 27 surface condition 555. Wet.
Score 4531, taxi altitude, Goldman.
November 224 Whiskey is 5 miles.
November 24 Whiskey, Roger. Continue approach runway 27, you are number 1.
Continue approach 27, November 224 Whiskey. Okay, so I'm descending down. My speed's looking nice, 100 knots.
Sorry, Alpha 1 or Alpha 2?
I'm on the centre line.
God, my kid, you're Alpha 2.
I can see my velocity vector there showing me that I'm on the runway as well. I'm on the glide path, and I'm passing 1,600 feet for a minimum of 600 feet. Beautiful day outside, but I'll still follow the path down. And then there's the VNAV flying in, and over on my MFD and my MFW I can zoom in there.
24 Whiskey, runway 27 clear to land, wind 260,
27 clear to land, November 224 Whiskey. Good, so that's looking nice. So coming in. Final check, flaps are set,
Maintenance 1 standby.
landing lights are on.
Maintenance 1 tower, pass your message.
Holden, the wind socket Delta would like to proceed to the tower.
Again.
Hopefully today, tower. So it'll be some point today, hopefully.
Roger.
So coming in, just approaching my minimas, looking out the window,
Aero 54 Tango,
all looking good.
Service.
Basic service, Aero 54 Tango. Gold Mike India, ready for departure.
Golf Mike India, hold position.
So speed's nice, on course, on glide.
Minimums.
There's my minimas, looking up, visual of the runway, so I'll disconnect,
500.
land, and I'll get back to you afterwards.
Maintenance.
Great, vacated the Delta. Nice short landing, short field landing there, even though didn't need to. It's good practice to do so. Just crossing the line now. Just doing my after landing checks. Power lever, fuel pump. I actually leave my fuel pump on. I leave my mixture a little bit, but I just tend to leave my fuel pump on. Flaps are going to the up position. Lights, don't need my strobes on anymore, don't need my probes on anymore. I've been cleared to cross the runway, which I'm going to do now. Having a good look up the runways, nothing's coming around, so I'm crossing, and then I'm going to go up here, and then left onto the next taxiway, and then taxi around to maintenance.
Information Foxtrot, QNH 1012, and request taxi.
So I've got no ice protection on at all. My pitot is off. All I'm doing now is taxiing around with my nav lights and landing lights on.
Yankee Zulu.
Golf Mike India, afternoon's abatement left and south, runway 27, cleft takeoff, wind is westerly 12.
Well, great. Thanks for joining me on this very short journey over to Gloucester. And, got a few more trips coming up very soon, so I shall see you on the next one.